Pleasant greetings to you, lovely students. I welcome you to today's class. Recall in the previous class, we were taught the introduction to farming system, and during that class, the tutor did so much justice to some subtopics. In today's class, I'll be taking you the topic farming systems, the second aspect. Farming system, the second aspect. And it is really essential that you learn about this topic as an agricultural science student in order to give advice or consultancy to maybe your uncles that may be asking about farming. All right. Now, in today's topic, I'll be explaining to you the following topic outline: farming system and cropping system, that is a comparison between the two: pastoral farming, mixed farming, lay farming, and tonga farming. We'll be looking at the advantages and disadvantages of these two of these subtopics. Now, quickly we'll be looking at comparison between farming systems and cropping systems. Most times, these two topics seems to be confusing to agricultural science students, so I'll be explaining it briefly in this lesson. Now, what is farming system? Farming system has to do with the ways, the methods, the approaches that are adopted by various farmers in their farming operation. Notice this: in their farming operation. So it could be related to tree farming, it could be crop farming, it could be even forage farming, it could be animal farming. But cropping system only has to do with the way a farmland is cropped. Okay, it is also the system adopted by a farmer, which may be dependent on the available farmland, the type of agriculture, whether subsistence or commercial, the need of the farmer, and so on. As you can see, today's topic could be a little bit lengthy. The reason being that this is the concluding part of the topic farming system. This is the concluding part of the topic farming system, so it will be a little bit lengthy. So again, another comparison between cropping system and farming system is that it also depends on the economic factor of the farmer and the nature of the soil. So one of the types of pastoral farming we've been taught, we have shifting cultivation and the rest, but today we'll be looking at pastoral farming. So what is pastoral farming? Pastoral farming is a system that involves the rearing of animals that feed on forage. Examples of animals that are reared under pastoral farming: we have the goats, we have sheep, we have cattle. Now, types of pastoral farming: we have ranching and nomadic herding. Now, what is ranching? Ranching is a system of keeping animals in a fenced expanse of land that contains forage. Animals that are under ranching, they are properly taken care of. And examples of ranches in Nigeria: we have the Obudu Cattle Ranch in Cross River State and the Igara Cattle Ranch in Edo State. All these cattle ranch, although they are not as functional as they used to be in those days. Now, nomadic herding it involves the movement of grazing animals, as you can see in the picture here. This is an example of a nomad. It involves the movement of grazing animals from one place to another in search of fresh pasture. Most time, nomadic herding don't have a particular place that they settle in, unlike ranches. Now, nomadic herding is mostly practiced by the Fulani nomads of northern Nigeria. They could take their animals all the way from the north to another state in search of food. Nomadic herding is also referred to as pastoral nomadism, and then it's also referred to as pastoral farming. Now, the advantages of pastoral farming is that pastoral farming provides source of animal protein to farmers and also humans. When a cattle gets old, or maybe at a particular stage, a farmer may decide to sell off his cattle or his goat or his sheep to the market for provision of meat protein. And then another advantage is the provision of milk. The system is not too costly because natural grasses are fed upon by the animals. Now, less labor is also required, as one man can cater for a large number of animals. Now, a disadvantage which is quite bad for pastoral farming is that The system is highly laborious for herdsmen, particularly the nomads. The animals can only be reared in grassland areas where they can have access to feed. So they can only be reared where there is excess of feed. Now again, the productivity of the animals is affected by availability of pasture crops. Now this pasture crop at the end of the day is also affected by seasonal changes. So that's why you notice that during the dry season, the nomads are much more in the south and southeast, in the southwest and south, because during dry season there is less feed in the north, so they have to move their animals from the north down to where there is food. Now again, I said it is highly laborious because the herdsmen will have to move a long distance in search of food, in search of water for their animals. The system, as an advantage, also provides animal protein in form of milk, apart from meat, in form of milk to the farmer and also his families. Now the next one is mixed farming. Mixed farming is a combination of crop production with animal production on the same farmland. But when a farmer is rearing both animals and also producing crop on his farmland, the same farmland, the farmer is said to be practicing mixed farming. Now, this is mainly practiced on commercial farms where there are large units of livestock such as poultry, pigs, which are kept alongside cultivation of crops like maize, like rice, and vegetables. Both the animals and plants have one advantage or the other that they are doing for each other. So, some of the advantages of mixed farming is that it ensures steady supply of income for the farmer. It also ensures against failure if one of the two enterprise fails. That is, when the crop production is not doing well, the farmer can get money from the animal production and vice versa. The farmer will also be able to replenish his soil for crop cultivation using the manure from the animals. That is, the dung of the farm animals can be applied to the soil to enrich the soil. The farmer can also supply feeds to the animals from the crop products he plants. The farmer and his family have access to good food obtained from both his crops and animals. Then, lastly, as an advantage is that the animals may serve as a source of power on the farm. E.g., a bull can be used to pull plows on the farm to do work on the farm. A donkey can also be used for transportation on the farm. But a disadvantage of this system is that it requires a great deal of knowledge, skill, time, and labor from the farmer. Again, when the animals are reared on the same farmland where crops are grown without fence, the animals may damage the crops. That's another disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that it is expensive to operate, especially in respect of the skilled personnel that are needed. It really requires a lot of technicality. So, a farmer that is not well trained may not be able to practice mixed farming. And then again, I said it ensures income for the farmer. The farmer can sell the crops and also sell the plants. And the crops can also be used as food for the animal. For instance, maize is given to the poultry bird as food. Now, lay farming has to do with the system. It's not too common in Nigeria anyway. It's mostly practiced in research or experimental station. And this system involves alternating arable crops. Examples of arable crops, we have maize, we have cassava, we have yam. So when a farmer alternates these arable crops with forage crops on a piece of land, the farmer is said to be practicing lay farming. For instance, a farmer may choose to use a piece of land to grow food crops for about 2 years and then use it to grow forage crops to feed animals for some other years. So maybe in year 1 and year 2, the farmer may decide to plant maize and cowpea on the farmland. Then afterwards, the farmer may decide to plant stylo. Stylo is an example of forage crops. Now the farmland is referred to as lay during the period it is covered with forages. When it is covered with forages, when the farmer is not using it for production of food crops, that period is referred to as lay. Advantages of lay farming is that the pastures, especially legume species, help to replenish the soil fertility. Now again, soil erosion is controlled through the system because at no point in time is the land exposed completely for too long a time. That is, most times the land is always one way or the other covered with crops, and it also helps to reduce buildup of pests and disease agents on the farm because the farmer is usually alternating a crop against forage crops. Now disadvantages is that it is not easy to practice, hence the system is not popular in most communities. Again, the forage crops usually become weeds on the farm when the land is cropped with food crops, and they are often difficult to eradicate. For instance, after you are done planting the forage crops and you want to switch back to and the farmer wants to switch back to planting food crops, the forage crops will be very difficult to eradicate in the following year. So most times it's a big disadvantage. And then again, the seeds of forage crops can remain in the ground for a long time. So when the farmer intends to practice planting of arable crops, it may be difficult for him because the roots and the seeds of the forage crops are still in the ground, so it is very difficult to practice. Now, Tongia farming system is the system whereby food crops are grown alongside forest trees. As you can see in the picture here, you can see the forest tree stands and also some crops alongside it. So when a farmer is practicing, when a farmer plants food crops together with forest trees, he or she is the farmer is said to be practicing Tongia farming. It involves clearing the forest land. Mostly, the forest land is usually forest reserve, and planting food crops. Later, the tree seedlings are planted in between the crops to continue on the land after the food crops have been harvested. A typical example of Tongia farming is when you plant mahogany together with banana, or you plant obeche and maize plant on the same farmland. As you can see here, we have banana and mahogany tree on the same farmland. After the banana has been harvested, the trees are left to grow for about 10 years or 8 years, as the case may be. So advantages of Tongia farming system: we have the fertility of the soil is usually high for crops to use for maximum productivity, because during that time the leaves of the trees falls to the forest floor, and it serves as a form of as nutrient for the soil. And then again, it's an economic way of replacing unwanted forest with desirable tree species. Another advantage is that the land is always protected against erosion. The timber seedlings are protected by food crops in their early stage of life. Because the timber seedlings are really fragile, what happens is that during that time of their early stage, the food crops serve as a protection for the timber seedlings. The system provides a source of income to the government. Now, Tongia farming system is not, you don't say oil palm when a farmer plants oil palm tree and iroko trees. No, that's not Tongia farming, because oil palm is not an example of a food crop, it's a perennial crop. A disadvantage is that it leads to destruction of natural forest, which may result in loss of many forest resources. At times, the needed forest may not develop because most farmers usually do not cater for the forest trees, as they are left to die under heavy cropping with cassava or plantains. Another disadvantage is that the system does not allow the cultivation of permanent crops such as cocoa, rubber, and oil palm. That's what I said earlier. It does not allow cultivation of permanent crops such as cocoa, rubber, and oil palm. Don't forget, during this class, I was able to explain to you the comparison between farming system and cropping system. They seem to be the same, but they are not exactly the same. Examples of cropping system: we have mixed cropping, monocropping, intercropping, crop rotation, and the likes. And then farming system, we have mixed farming, we have land rotation, we have shifting cultivation, we have lay farming, we have Tongia farming. all have their advantages and disadvantages, and the one a farmer chooses to do depends on so many factors such as availability of farmland, economic factors, cultural factor, geographical factor, and then nature of the soil. These are some of the things that may determine the type of farming system a farmer may choose to do. I want you to do your quiz. Make sure you do your assignment and also read up your notes very well. Thank you for watching. Do have a wonderful time. Bye.